Well, everybody, it's another Conversations with, and I am delighted. Today I have one of the most knowledgeable men that I've ever met in my life. Second to myself, of course. Second only to me. But anyway, my good friend Richard Morco, and we're going to chat today about some of the things that we always chat about. However, I thought today's program, I'd change it just around a little bit. There is no question in my mind that Richard is one of the most learned gentlemen that I've ever met. He studies Greek mythology, knows about all the great Greeks, and he's a historian and has brought some of those things up and embarrassed me. Things that I didn't know about, he's brought up about certain people. But I thought today, what I would like to do is ask a simple question and get his honest opinion on where he thinks the United States of America is on July of 2020.
I think we're at the cusp of disaster, to tell you the truth. It's been a long time coming. We basically have differences of opinion about the presidency. I think that Donald Trump is in the mold of the American president, kind of a second-rate guy, and you think he's the worst ever. But I think that things were coming along to this anyway. We are in 180 countries we have troops?
Yeah. Oh, we're listen, I ran in 1976 2076 for president, and all I wanted to do was bring the troops home. I think it's ridiculous, the amount of people that we have in foreign countries that cost this government. You know, we could get, what was it the kid that ran, one of the kids that ran for president of the Democratic ticket, was it Yang?
Yeah.
Who said we could give everybody $1,200 a month for the rest of their lives. Yeah. We brought our troops home, we could give them $10,000 a month for the rest of their lives.
Well, that's the part of the problem. We spend all that money for those troops. But where is the money coming from? You know, we only can tax so much.
Yeah.
We've been running the deficit forever, which wouldn't be that bad, but is it real? Is the money real anymore?
No.
We've been giving it to the big banks and non-banks,
yeah,
with the repo loans, and we don't. Where is this money? Is it? There's got to be a law of gravity with this at some point.
Oh, it collapses in the horizon.
Now, this is the COVID-19. This whole pandemic is the most unique thing that's ever happened in my life. I've lived through a lot.
Oh.
You've lived through more.
So, yeah.
I lived through the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
numerous recessions.
Yeah.
Nothing like this has happened. And behind it is the same thing that happened in 2008. The banks playing fast and loose, the Fed playing fast and loose. And we have such a lifestyle change. It cannot go on forever. I do not, all the Black Lives Matter protests, all this, and all the people coming out might have, their hearts might be in the right place. We can agree or disagree.
Yeah.
But I do not believe it would have happened this way if we hadn't been on lockdown for a while. People want to break curfew, and that is a big part of it.
Well, look, Richard, you don't have to go very far. You have the governor of Florida, who opens it up right away. Now his people are paying a dear price. I left the house today, checked it out, over 11,000 new cases just today in Florida. In the last 3 days, it's over 50,000 new cases.
I have heard that there have been mistaken reporting on those cases.
Well, let's say, all right.
Big, huge mistakes.
Let's say 25,000, not 50. Okay, gotcha. But my point is, to this very moment, that governor still stands there and says it's because of the number of tests. Well, you can't get into a hospital in Florida because they're full. They're turning people away. Governor, when are you going to finally admit that they got to wear masks and they got to stay at home? At what point, Governor, are you going to face the reality? But they don't, and they keep going.
Now, let me explain. I lived in the South, and I'm going to explain why this is taking off in the South. The same thing is why it's taking off in Australia, which beat it, supposedly. in the South, you know, the South was a terrible place to live. I mean, pestilence, it never had a good, you know, the survival was hard in the South because of what they call pathogen overload. You know, every pathogen can attack you in the South. Life didn't become modern in the South until air conditioning hit. So now in the summer, up here, we go outside.
Yeah.
This is New England is heaven in the summer.
Yeah.
New England is literally heaven
Yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah.
And we're outside. And we're not getting the disease as much anymore.
No.
They're inside down south. I lived in Louisiana in the summer. It's hell.
Oh, yeah.
It's hell.
I happened to have once in my life, I was a kid, I'm maybe 22, 21. The company that I worked for, which was WHIL in Malden, Medford radio station.
I remember listening to it.
I came to Ware on January of 1957, and a year later, I got a call from the owner. He had bought a station in Roanoke, Virginia, and he wanted to know if I had go down and be sales manager. Well, I was a kid. Sure, I'll go. Roanoke, Virginia. I went down there, and they're still fighting the Civil War. Oh, one of my best accounts was a fellow who owned the Dr. Pepper bottling company down there. It was the only place in the country that Dr. Pepper outsold Coca-Cola, because he had a great philosophy. He loved my station because we played to young people. In fact, I had the Everly Brothers come in for a concert. He paid for it because and let the kids in free to see the Everly Brothers. Because he said, if I can get somebody drinking Dr. Pepper when they're 10, they'll never stop.
There you go.
And he beat Coke at their own game. But anyway, but he loved me because I was always invited to his house for parties because I was the token Yankee. And he'd say, park your car. You know? And I'd say, and he'd laugh. Oh, he thought he was a great guy. But when I was there, they still had black toilets and white toilets. My wife, we had just gotten married. My wife got a job at the Props Childress shoe store, which was owned by the Childresses, which was couple of them were governors and so forth. Fancy shoe store, she worked there. I would take the bus home because we only had the one car. And she got on the bus one day and she let a black lady have her seat. The bus driver jammed on the brake and kicked her off the bus. We don't do that here. Kicked her and made her get off the bus and walk home. You know,
Yeah,
so it was, and I remember going to church. We had one Catholic church. I went to mass, and the priest was originally from Boston. So he and I got chatting, and he said, "Unbelievable here." He said, "You're going to be," but they loved me because nobody would call on the black merchants. I had every one of them on the radio. At the time I had a white Lincoln Capri with mast plates. Boy, was I in. You know. Anyway, but it was, to your point, whoa, they were tough down there.
Yeah. Now, when the fall comes down there, it starts to, you know, and, I remember being there in December and saying, hey, this is lovely weather.
Yeah.
And boy, the summer though, was Disney World in April, loved it. Went there with the family in May, thought I was gonna die.
Oh, I used to go down. One time I had a lot of the Red Sox used to work. I had a little company called Irish Productions. I had a bunch of car dealers that I used to advise, and all the ball players. None of them live around here. So I had Bernie Cabo, Bill Lee. Later I had Hobson, different ball players. I would get them a car for the summer when they'd land in the plane. Coming up in March, there'd be a car at the airport for them. And the deal was they had to do 2 TV commercials and a couple of radio commercials and make 2 appearances at the dealership. And then they'd turn the car back in when they went home in October. And but it was unbelievable. When I used to go down in February when they were down there for spring training, and I'd stay for a week and we'd do all the commercials, we'd film. Have my little crew come down with me. I hated it. Every day is the same in Florida. You get up, it's sunny and 88. Okay? every day,
Yeah.
and we get a shower about 2.
Yeah.
You know, every day, and I'd say, how can you live here? It's like this every day, year round.
Well, like I say, air conditioning. That was the salvation of the
Yeah.
South. That made, like Atlanta a business hub.
Oh yeah.
Because you could go in the office and not die at the
Oh yeah.
desk.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you got places like what's the Austin, Texas, which is the
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
place where the cool people live.
Yeah.
They have the Austin city limits
Yeah.
and everything like that. They're suffering it with it now.
Yeah.
And I would say it's because they're inside all the time.
Yeah. Well, Houston's the same. You can't get a hospital bed in Houston, and I mean
Right now,
they've got them in the halls and everything.
You have to understand about intensive care units. They run at 85% capacity anyway,
Oh, I understand.
because that's the only way they can make money.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't take that much of an
To fill 'em up.
Yeah, to fill them up.
Yeah, but I saw an interesting article I read the other day. For instance, in Massachusetts, they built 3 portable hospitals. They took a couple. They had one in Worcester at the DCU Center, one at the Convention Center in Boston, converted it to a hospital. Now it never reached. None of them ever reached capacity.
They didn't even have a fraction of them.
No, but they had 30, 40 people.
Yeah.
But the point is, we never reached the point in Massachusetts where the hospitals couldn't take anybody.
No, that's because you know why? We killed them in the nursing homes.
Well-
I shouldn't say we. Your hero, Charlie Baker, did it.
Well, the nursing homes had a problem. I don't know if you can blame the governor for the way the nursing homes treated their people.
He didn't do much thinking right away. Now, I'm not going to go, like I told you the last time with the Duke and everything in the blizzard of, there's no baseline. This is a new thing.
Oh yeah.
But Charlie was not Mr. Genius. Neither was Cuomo.
Yeah, but they did a good job.
No.
I disagree.
I completely
I mean, right now in Massachusetts, we're in excellent shape.
we're in excellent shape, but still the average is still way up in the 80s of the death rate. So, that says basically something about
Yeah,
the
but
epidemic itself,
for
and we're
instance,
not looking for.
For instance, yesterday in Massachusetts, we had, I think it was 13 or 12, 13 deaths. When you compare that with the other states, that's minimal.
Only if what you're comparing is even. You can't compare apples and oranges. Now we're also in summer. We're also outside a lot more, like other states aren't.
Right.
We've also had the early boom where we were
Oh, yeah.
hit in the chin. So we should be getting lower. Now, you know what country is really doing really well in Europe? Guess the country, because you're going to be surprised.
I have no idea.
Like you, I'm of Irish descent. So I'm really shocked at how Ireland is doing. They've not merely flattened the curve, they've almost inverted it. But in the beginning, they did as bad as Massachusetts. But then they learned from it. And they were able,
And what are they doing?
They're stopping people from coming in. They're telling you, this is the distance you can go, this is the distance.
Yeah.
But they're looking at what you can get away with. Not, just opening it up or closing it all down.
Well, but there's no question.
How about Norway? Look at Norway. I'll tell you a fun fact about Norway. They're doing so well that the undertakers are begging for relief from the government.
No, good. Let's go to Norway.
No,
Okay, I'm all set.
not
But
in
anyway,
winter. Not in winter.
No. But the bottom line is that one of the things that's troubling to me is you got, whether you like him or not, you got good old Dr. Fauci. Now, this Navarro, who works for the president, absolutely scorched him in an editorial. Okay? And I believe he's one of the few people who tell the truth or tells it like he sees it.
Oh, well, then he changes it every now and then.
Well,
because he's wrong.
because we're
He's been
learning
wrong.
from, to your point, you learn from those things.
But he doesn't say, you know what people, I want to hear Trump say this. I want to hear Fauci say, okay, here's where I was wrong. Here's what I've learned. They just say, like, it's the 24.
No, I think Fauci has said it in a different way than you just said it.
You either say it or you don't.
No, but I think Fauci has said on numerous occasions. That's when I said that. That's what we thought it was like. I've now since seen that it's changed. Now, there's no question. I saw a thing today. A big study was done. Wearing masks helps. Big study. They did it. So many people, against people who didn't wear them. Masks work. There are people who disagree with that. There are people who say, I'll never wear one. I was at the post office this morning. This lady gets out of her car, no mask, goes in, big sign, can't come in without a mask. Didn't bother her, in she goes. And I started to put my window down, waiting for her to come out, because I was going to say, oh, by the way, do you have one of the new vaccines? Can you share it with me? Are you immune? But I didn't. I kept my mouth shut. Because, like my wife says, someday you're going to say that to somebody, they're going to shoot you. And she's probably right.
See, now, at my age, I'm a little reticent in public to go wild. Dick, still hard charging.
Yeah.
I have to admire the guy.
Well, let me tell you, I got to tell you a story. I had a great father, tough guy. I don't know, because he was gone. I didn't know my father from the time I was 6 till I was 11. He was gone for 5 years. And comes back because he was in the Second World War. And so the first couple of months was tough because I was the oldest. And I was the man of the house for 5 years. Who's this guy? Comes in and takes over, But anyway, we sit down one day and we're chatting. And he says, son, I'm going to give you a little advice as you go through life. Wherever you go, whatever you do, make an impact. Now he says, I'm going to tell you, some people may not like you. Others will like you, but they'll never forget you.
There you
So
go.
wherever you go, make an impact. And so, for the last 70-odd years, wherever I've gone, I make an impact. Now, I remember going to the opening event at a Mexican restaurant in Sturbridge. And I didn't know a Richard Morco from a hole in the wall, ended up sitting with him. And during the conversation, happened to mention about my feeling about governments. And this fellow says, whoa, boy, that's amazing, okay? But the point I'm making is you make an impact.
You did.
See, wherever you go.
I forgot you said.
That's right. You make an impact. And by the way, I was teasing my wife the other day, and I said, I got to start writing my obit. I said, I'm getting close, I got to think about writing it. And I said, but it's not going to be a funeral. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to call mine a going away party for Dick Vaughan. That's what we're going to call it. Because I said, I'm a positive guy, and it's my going away party. And she said, you can't say that. I said, of course I can. And I said, then I'm going to say, I'm inviting my friends and my foe alike to come and say goodbye and wish me well on my going away party. And she says, you're going to really write that, aren't you? I said, yeah. She says, I can't believe you're really going to do that.
Why not?
Why not?
And in fact,
it's a going away part. Why? I don't want anybody. I've already picked the music. And of course, I'm a mummer. I was in the Furco String Band for over 60 years. I'm in the Philadelphia Mummers Hall of Fame.
there you go.
Okay? So I said to Jen, you can't play it in church. But when we get to when they're taking me outside, I said, once we go outside the church, I want a big boom box, and we're going to play the Alabama Jubilee. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. And I said, I want it to be a party. Because all my life, every nun I ever had told me the greatest day in my life is going to be when I go to heaven. And I can't wait.
I think you can.
Because I'll make an impact.
I think, I think you can wait.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I have to share with you that I have a great PCP, my primary physician, Mass General. And my last visit, he's telling me he just finished his 8th book, and he says, there's a whole chapter on you in the 8th book. You're in all my books. He said, because you keep working, you keep busy, and that's what keeps you going. I said, doctor, cut the BS. I said, get your little pad and tell me how many more years I got. Well, he starts to laugh. And he said, well, if you promise me you won't run in front of a big truck, he says, I'll give you at least another 10.
There you go.
Write that down. You know. So he did. And I sent it, I have 5 kids. And I sent a note to each one of the kids with a copy of the thing from the doctor. And I said, I have good news and bad news. I said, first the good news, and I put an arrow to 10 more years. I said, now here's the bad news. And depending on their age, I said, you'll be 91 before you get the money. Okay? And then down the line. Well, I have 5 kids. I have 2 boys, 13 months apart, then my daughter Kathy, then Michael, and then Kerry. Well, my middle kid, my daughter Kathy, all the kids call me. But Kathy's the only one that's got any brains. She calls me up and she said, Dad, I think that's wonderful. She said, what a great, 10 more years I would have my father. She said, but I have an idea. Rather than have me wait the 10 years to get the money, why don't you send me 1/10 a year for the next 10 years?
Shrewd kid.
Only smart kid and the other. So I said to her, Kathy, if you promise me you'll never say a word, I'm going to send you a present. And I wrote her a check for $200 and I mailed it to her and told her, don't tell the other kids I did this, but you're the only one that had any brains.
Oh my God.
But you got to have fun.
You do.
Fun's the best thing to have. Look at how much fun you and I have.
Oh,
You know. But no, I'm really. I want to get back to the beginning where you said we're in deep trouble in this country,
I think so.
real deep trouble. And my question is to myself is, I don't know that we got anybody that can save us.
Well, I think it's almost irrelevant to hope for a savior. Because I'm reviewing a book about a guy who predicted we're in this trouble about 5 or 6 years ago in a book called Ages of Discord. He's a guy who's a professor at UConn.
Yeah.
And he basically said 2020, you know, he looked at the cycle,
Yeah.
he calls the cycles of secular cycles.
Yeah.
And he looked how he said we're basically at the Civil War. We're at each other's throats at
Yeah.
this point. But I also read, there's a fellow who ran the Jordanian Arab Legion. He was seconded by the British Army. His name was Sir John Bagot Clubb. And he was quite an officer, quite
Yeah.
a smart guy. And, you know, I'm not a fan of the British Empire and anything
Yeah.
they did, but he was a bright guy, but he was also a scholar.
Yeah.
And he said, and he looked at all the empires and big super states and big countries that made an impact in the world. And he said if they were really big, average lifespan as an empire or as a country on the rise was 250 years.
Yeah.
Guess where we are?
We're 244.
Yep. But it could be anywhere from, say, 220 to 260 and
Yeah.
270. But basically,
We're knocking on the door.
we're knocking on the door. I think there's reforms that we should do. First of all, we should move the capital out of Washington. We should do the Murphy Plan for the Electoral College. Number of things that we could
Well,
do.
by the way, speaking of that, how did you feel about the ruling that they just came down that they have to vote the way the state votes? Does that change anything at all?
Not for me, no. First of all, I'd like to see each elector be independent, be elected in the state, by a state. Like I said, you know, people,
Yeah.
the committee, the caucus that eventually comes from all the citizens
Yeah.
voting, eventually winnows down and they select the best man. But then each one goes down and votes as, you know, works it out together as the Electoral College,
Yeah.
as a team. I mean, let's call it's a college. That
Yeah.
was the idea, a college.
Yeah.
Not a high school.
No.
Sorry, people. But basically, the idea they would be in committee to do this together, to select the president.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just another aspect of it. It's okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all right. I'd rather have it by state than, you know, somebody pulling a stunt.
Yeah. But it's to the point where, as you just mentioned, we're heading down the wrong
Yeah.
road, and I don't know that we can turn around at this point.
Well, occasionally we throw up somebody, and you know, like Constantine moved the capital of Rome to Constantinople,
yeah.
and bought him several hundred more years.
Yeah.
With that,
Yeah.
So
Where would you put it?
you know where I put it? Once, when I was a kid, I was, not a kid after I got out of the Army, I was camping cross country when
Yeah.
camping. Worst night of my life, in June, in Cheyenne, Wyoming, camping out, nearly died of frostbite, or felt I was going to die
Yeah.
of frostbite. I wanted to be in an unpleasant place. I don't want people, Washington, for the British government as a diplomatic place, up until this century, last century, it was a hardship place. But with what do you call it, with air conditioning,
Yeah.
they've ruined the South, let's face
Yeah.
it. So I wanted in a place that's hell to live in.
Yeah.
And so I would put it in Cheyenne.
Yeah, okay. Good place.
But we could think of other
Oh,
places too.
there's plenty of places. Stick in the middle of Arizona in the desert. You know.
No, they'd have air conditioning there. It would ruin it.
Yeah, ruin it. Well, it's, and we can talk about it and chuckle, but it's scary. I mean,
is.
I have to tell you, for the first time in my life, and I'm by nature the eternal optimist. Tomorrow it'll get better.
yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
I move on, Vaughan.
Move on, Vaughan. That's really good.
Yeah, that's what move on, Vaughan. It happened yesterday, but I had a situation I had to make a phone call. Someone was supposed to do something for me on a certain day, didn't. I waited almost all day, finally gave up and did other things. Called the next day, and the person started to give me 16 excuses why they did. I said, whoa. That was yesterday. I'm already beyond that. She said, what do you mean? I said, I don't care why you didn't do it. They didn't do it. I said, when are you coming? And she says, well, I just wanted to explain it. There's nothing you can explain. Yesterday's gone forever. It doesn't exist anymore in my life. So it's move on, Vaughan.
Move on, Vaughan.
The worst thing people do is spend thinking about what might have, how do I say it?
The
Of all the
saddest
words
word of
from
tongue
mouth,
and pen.
of all the words from mouth and pen, the most worthless are what might have been. And it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And people spend a lifetime on what might have beens. It doesn't matter. It's gone.
That's true.
But to our point, we now know we're in trouble. We need to start doing things now to see if we can forestall us going down the tubes.
But what can practically we, to...
I think the problem now is there's so many things we'd have to do, we could never accomplish them. Ever.
I agree.
mean, I go back to just the form of our government. I've preached it so many times. The term of the President of the United States should be 1 6-year term, and he can't succeed himself. And that's it. He's done. He's got 6 years. Do your job and get out. We'll get another guy. Nobody in the Senate should last. They should have a 7-year term and succeed themselves one time. 14 years and you're gone. And the House members go from 2 years to 4 years, because the problem with 2 years, they just get elected and they're running for re-election.
How many terms would they get?
3 4-year terms, 12 years and they're out.
I'm not sure.
And then the Supreme Court, 13-year term. At the end of 13 years, you can be reappointed for one more term. At the end of 26, you're gone.
Well, certainly, people ossify down in Washington.
Look, I'll share this with the folk. We got a few minutes left. I have called 3 times, the Markey campaign and the Kennedy campaign. 3 times. I got an answering machine. An answering machine. You're running for Senate, and you haven't got somebody answering your phone. I've left 3 messages. They have the schedule to call me, to have them come out to Charlton, if they could find it, if they knew where it was, come out to Charlton and do a program with you and I.
Okay. All right.
And they won't even call me back.
Let's just say right now on Conversations With,
Yeah.
Markey and Kennedy running for your vote, and they don't care.
That's right.
There you go.
They don't.
And that's part of it. Nobody really cares in government. Nobody cares really in the media. Like NPR, that's just to tell the cool people what to believe, not what to think, because they don't want them thinking.
You don't get me going on NPR, because we've been paying for them for years. They're all overpaid. They have the best equipment in the world because they're on the take. The government of the United States pays them.
Oh, sure.
I had to make a payroll every single month or every week in my 6 or 7 companies that I had running radio stations. Nobody gave me anything. I had to go out and knock on doors and sell time to make sure I could pay my staff. And those guys didn't have to do anything. And then they say, oh, we don't run ads. Well, that's all they do.
Oh, yeah. Underwriters.
Yeah, underwriters.
And underwriters are saying, I'm cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cool. Buy from me because I support public radio.
Only in America.
Only in America.
Richard, thank you very much. It's been a great program.
It has been.
And I'm looking so forward to seeing you again real soon.
I am too.
Have fun.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, that's great. There you are, folks. Another Conversations with.
All right.